as you've heard, I did my introduction in the morning, but for the sake of those just came when we had concluded the introduction session, my name is Elizabeth Mutisia. I'm a registered physical planner and serving in the current KIP GC as the assistant treasurer. And now we are getting into our other session, and I would like us to give another round of applause for our presenters. Thank you. Those were very good. That was a very good set of presentations. And now we are going to get an opportunity to interact with them, because from the presentations we get to hear these thought-provoking ideas that they have shared. And I would like just to give a few that I personally picked. Integration is constant across. When we look at the current topic that we have for our conference and the presentations that we've heard from the four presenters, integration stands out. Nothing can operate, or rather you cannot achieve sustainability if you work in isolation, so we need to integrate. And something else that I just picked out is the issue of innovation, and especially from the first and our last presenters, we need to be innovative. And I appreciate planners, me being one of them, because there is, I think, the 16th annual planners conference, or rather convention, where we discussed about unoccupied mansions. We are no longer discussing about changing use and subdividing. At least we are having concrete discussions, including what we are doing today. So, having said that, I would like to bring on board our panelists for this session. Their bios were read out, or rather the introductions of our panelists were read out by Planner Nyarangi, so I'm not going to go back to that. I'll just like to bring them on board, and then we can have that discussion, which is going to add into the knowledge. We've had Planner Beatrice state that her current priceless possession is knowledge. And from the last convention that we had in Diani, we remember the three key lessons that our senior-most planners gave, and this one have never forgotten. One was from Dr. Planner Joyce, and she told us to dare anything but death. I've never forgotten about that. Another lesson was from Senior Planner Mbwagwa, who is currently not present, and he told us, never stop learning. And what we are about to do is, we are continuing to learn. And then Planner John, he's called Kihagi, told us to invest in ourselves. I just wanted to remind us of those lessons. I believe before we leave, we are going to go home with more lessons. So without further ado, kindly allow me to bring on board our panelists. And our first panelist of this panel this afternoon is Planner Dr. Walter Alando. Kindly come on board, sir. Let's clap for him. Our next panelist is going to be Dr. Benson Okita from the WIS Academy. Welcome, sir, to our panel. Planner Kevin Ngigi, kindly welcome, sir, to our panel. Let's keep clapping for them so that we can encourage them. They are going to give you knowledge, and it is priceless. Please motivate them as they come. And then our planner, Mercyleen Nkatha, please come on board. I would classify her as young, but she'll correct me, but very instrumental to the profession. And then Engineer Jacinta Mwangi. For sure, I'm going to talk to our president so that we can see how we are going to confer an honorary membership to the Kenya. She's one of the loyal partner to the institute, and loyalty is rewarded. Even from our politics, you know that, right? Yeah, thank you so much. Kindly have a seat. So I believe when the presentations were ongoing, we were listening. And now it's time that we are now going to interact. They were just speaking to us. But at this moment, we are going to interact with them. Kindly help me with the mic. Somebody, I don't have it here. We are going to have this interaction. Please pay attention, contribute those questions that you have. Make sure that they come on board. And at this juncture, I would just like to ask our panelists, starting from my right, to just give a statement. 30 seconds, an opening remark for this session. Then we can proceed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that's an ambush opening statement, but I think the most important thing here is trying to integrate these systems. As I said earlier, we are talking of food systems. We are talking of eco, which is ecological systems. And to integrate them, I think, is critical. Plan for them and for the sustainability of not just food production and making people wealthier and healthier, but also for the sustainability of our environment. So those two, if we can plan for, I think will be home and dry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Lando.
Thank you so much, Liz. I think my remark could be, we are here talking about planning and agriculture. And these are two functions. Probably if I look at it from the point of view of the government, which drives things, these are two functions that are domiciled in two different ministries, probably, or more than that. Importantly, how do we coordinate things to work? Because at the end of the day, after these beautiful talks that we shall have had here, how do we get things moving? I think to me that is an important thing that we need to think about seriously so that we can create the kind of change that we are yearning for. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lando. And before Planner Kevin gives us his opening remarks, kindly, even for our online viewers, please keep posting your questions onto our wall, and those in the house, have your questions ready, because that is the next session that we are going to have, so that once we conclude with the opening remarks, we start having this discussion. Thanks. You can proceed.
All right. Thank you so much. Mine is just to be happy about this conversation and getting to see how different systems, how different organizations, and how us as planners are going to integrate and just move, not just talk about it, but take a step forward and be able to practice. And the privilege of being the youngest here, I know that we are the doers, and we know that we are going to do whatever is discussed to make sure that we integrate and see a better tomorrow.
Wow, thank you. Yes, Planner Mercy.
All right, what I can say is that I think we lack food because we have not planned. As we were preparing the buffer zone plan, we traversed the Ukambani region, and there were a few people who are doing irrigation, and I'm telling you that land is very fertile. So all I think we need to do is to plan and provide an enabling environment and infrastructure that is required, and then our food will be our nation will be food secure. Thank you.
And maybe adding into that statement, there's something that I had written down when engineer was doing a presentation, and I called this, you can quote me, Planner Elizabeth. Implementation, effective implementation of plans requires appropriate planning. We can continue, engineer.
Thank you. And I can repeat the same words in a different direct method. Now, the issue of climate change is real. And right now, because of that space, there are very many people, there are many planners who are willing to partner. As we develop the strategy, we have partnered with the World Resource Institute, UN Habitat, and UNEP. And because we realize that the resources are going down every day, anybody here from the government offices, you can tell you, who works with that the resources from Exchequer are dwindling every day. Now we need innovative way of getting funding, and the element, this issue of the climate fund is there. We just need to be educated more on how to tap into the carbon credits. I understand Gen is reaping in a big time. So I think it's a challenge for all of us because we are used to the normal allocations from government. So as we think, let's think about innovative ways of getting funding for infrastructure so that we can get food to the people who need it. Those who produce food from Nyandarua, like myself, how do we get this food to the people who need them in Nairobi or in Mandera or wherever at minimum cost? And then the enforcement of the county integrated development plans. How many of, say, I would look at a young engineer who has just come out from university and is been given a task to design a road. Who has told him or her that there's a county integrated development plan? So it's a challenge to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our panelists, for those thought-provoking opening remarks. And now it is our opportunity as the audience to ask questions, and I would like to classify us into 3, but these will go into the second round of questions. Right now in the first round, you're going to do it randomly. So if you're seated on my farthest end right, you are people. If you are in between, you are the government. And if you're on my left side, you are the planner. So we are going to have at least the government. The government has 2 rows. We are going to have 4 questions from the government, maybe 2, and then we are going to have 2 questions from the people, and we are going to have 2 questions from the planner. Just for this session, please. Yeah. So that we don't now go for lunch and we are like, you are not a planner, you are the government. But for this session, that's how we're going to do it. So kindly let's start from the people. You can take the mic to this side. My panelists will take note as the question come in. I know some will be directed to individuals and some are general. So yes, sir, kindly just say your name. And as we take the questions, here is something that I would like all of us to just do. This will form the conclusion of our discussion. As we keep asking the questions and answering, please write this down on paper. We'll collect them and sample and come up with a concrete statement at the end. If you could redesign your favorite city, if you could redesign your favorite city to include one feature for sustainable food systems, what would it be? If you could redesign your favorite city, I know we have 5 in Kenya. If you could redesign your favorite city to include one feature for sustainable food systems, what would it be? This will come in later, but for now we can take questions from the audience. Please, let's proceed.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Rashid Fwamba. I'm a Chief Officer, Urban Areas from Bungoma Municipality. My question goes to Dr. Lando. He indicated that statistics has it that almost only 25% of these county governments have their special plans in operation. And he went further and doubted, 25% have special plans completed. And he went ahead, doubted whether even these 25% are in practice. My question comes, do we really need these special plans? Because seemingly, we are chasing after the wind.
Thank you so much.
Can I add one more?
Okay, it's fine.
Thank you. For Dr. Okita, Rangeland Revival. Rangeland Revival is a good initiative. to some extension, how do you revive an encroached or a rural or a food setup that has been urbanized against the plan or against a special plan or against any county plan, so that can we revive? And so what are the casualties for that matter? Do you leave it? If you weigh the two sides, at what threshold do you consider to revive? Thank you.
Thank you so much. The people, one more question from the people. Okay, if the people don't have another question, we can go to the government. Questions from our government? Oh, sorry.
Thank you. My name is Milka Mwendo from Kenya. My question goes to the presenter on Konza Technopolis. It appears the planning area, that is the buffer zone, touches on private land, not on public land. So my question is, how have you managed to involve the owners of these lands? And what challenges have you had? Because I have seen the area is fairly developed currently, so the people could have had their own ideas on development. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we go to this row. You have 2 questions for the first round.
I'll speak as government, as you've said.
Please tell us your name.
My name is James Nyaga from GIS Limited.
Okay, thanks.
And I will speak as government.
It's fine.
We in government, my question will go to Dr. Benson Okita from West Academy. We as government, especially in the rangelands and the ASAL areas, especially where you're doing your work, one of the main problems we have is finding a way of navigating on how to achieve a set out goal for a certain project, whereas balancing the cultural issues that may be there. How do you ensure that the cultural norms do not affect the success of your project? Assuming in the case of Kajiado, where 1 year you'll find a certain community settled somewhere, and the following year they are no longer there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James, for that question as government. Any other? Yeah, we have, okay. There is a mic.
Thank you. My name is Abigail Walaka. And as the governor of Nairobi, I'm not so sure how I should balance between the issue of taking back my county to the initial stage of what the planning, the initial blueprint of the planning of how it should have looked like in 1963, as compared to what you are having right now. Because what ought to be agricultural land is full of slums. What ought to be agricultural land is full of churches. What ought to be an agricultural land is full of unplanned structures that we are balancing between I as a politician who is elected by the people and bringing on standard what my county should look like is a bit hard on my side. As planners, how are you going to enable me resolve this challenge, bearing in mind that you partly participated in it by issuing some of these building plans? Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's a very tough one from government. Okay, Naomi, and then we'll have our chief guests also ask a question. I'll be lenient with the government, just a bit.
Thank you, Planner Elizabeth. Mine is as government to all these institutions. I think if the way you've given us to be government, we can give directives, right? So we should give directive to all these organizations to have planners who are going to champion for these things in their organizations. Because when things go wrong is when planners are called upon. And I would like to challenge maybe our panelists. I'm sure in Kura we have planners, but even for the conservation organizations, do we have planners in there who are going to champion and bring this issue of integration that we are all talking about? So planners should, as we've said, we are the ones who should be in. Let's not wait for things to go wrong for us to remember, oh, okay, there are planners who are supposed to be part of this. Let's always have them on board when these things are being done from the word go. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Naomi. I'll take yours as a compliment, or rather as a concern that you have towards planners not occupying those spaces. So planners, you've been challenged, and those in the forefront of lobbying, please, even as the GC, we have taken note. Thank you. Welcome, sir, our chief guests.
Thank you very much. I apologize for asking a question.
It is okay. We even appreciate and we are honored to have even up to this time.
And it is going to Engineer Jacinta.
Okay.
I think your opening statement was that we should find innovative ways of funding infrastructure. What I want to pose to the planners, can we find innovative way of constructing infrastructure? Because it appears today tarmac is the in thing of doing our roads. Many years ago I was in Rome, and I was told the roads that I was walking on were thousands of years old, but they were not tarmac. So can we have innovative ways of building our infrastructure? Thank you.
Thank you very much, our learned fella in the house. So we come on this side of the government, and kindly let's do it fast. I don't want you to hate me because I'm standing in between this session and lunch. So this area, we have one question from Planner Masinde. Okay, Senior, kindly proceed.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me in. I may want to expand the discussion of Dr. Alando as we look into the form LR27, that is a mutation form, and the practice. From LR27, the mutation form has come in with innovations of bringing the planner in the survey work, where the planner will sign verification. He's supposed to, the planner can verify in that form. I don't know if that is familiar. In the same form, at the point of instructions of registered proprietors to the surveyor, the registered proprietor is also advising the surveyor to subdivide the parcel as shown on page 2 as per attached approved scheme plan. I don't know whether we are alive to that existence. And if we are alive to that existence, then how do we interlink this mutation form to our compliance certificate in PRUPA? Because that is where we are losing the talk. The practice has that none of each sees each other. I'm not jumping the gun, but how do we link the two? Because that is how they were designed in terms of practice. My other concern is to my mentee, Engineer Jacinta I appreciate your comment. And on the same note, engineer, may we also be helped to appreciate that in their own design, the element of, which I found in Kura quite interesting, of forgiving designs. There are designs which will forgive you for a mistake. If you are coming as a drunkard on a roundabout, you don't have to die. Maybe you can help us appreciate that in the urban road design, because we are no longer in the business of enhancing urban mobility with ITS and BRTs. You are in the business of transforming the urban mobility. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Planner Dr. Joyce. So we will have one question from Planner Masinde and my brother there, and then we go to the planners.
Yes, thank you. My name is Salim Masinde. I'm a planner working with the county government of Makueni. One of my questions was the one that has been elaborated by Joyce, and I was going to Dr. Alando. You talked about the subdivisions, which has really been a hot topic of the points of intervention by the planners and how we can really have an impact in controlling the subdivisions. I would like to hear your opinion more so on an issue that was taken to court by some young planners in the Western chapter, I think, trying to adjudicate on the same issue and seeking clarifications and interpretations by the court regarding these subdivisions. Because I did not really hear you mention it in the presentation, and whether what they are doing is something that is really in line with what we ought to do as a profession to control those subdivisions. The other question is not really a question, but a general comment. Maybe our President Fawcett, you can react to it. I've tried to go through the program. I've seen that in some day we shall be doing some resolutions. In our last conference, we also meant some resolutions. I believe they were around 12. It is my proposal, if possible, that in these conferences, we take the first day to review what we said, so that it doesn't just be a business as usual. We say things, we make resolutions, we come next time with a different topic, then we discuss that other, and then we disregard all these others. So I would really wish to get a clarification on where in our program do we intend to review or to get comments about what we said last time and the implementation status.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Planner. That's well noted.
Thank you very much. I'm George. I work with the county government of Siaya, and I want to direct my question to Dr. Okita. First of all, Dr. Hari, I want to appreciate the innovation that you have just presented on the circular bands. But where I'm seated here, I've been wondering whether there is a motivation that you bring into this kind of activity, because we see full participation of the people in this particular settlement where you are improving the ecological footprint of these particular areas. There's this particular issue you are talking about as regional stewardship hubs. Is there a way that this brings into the community as a motivator? Are you giving funding to the local communities, or you are just using the knowledge, and this knowledge therefore probably is used for awareness creation so that the community can wholly own this? Then finally, what is the involvement of the local governance, the county government, apart from this global perspective that you are bringing into the project? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Planner John. We go to our planners. Kindly let's be quick. Start with Planner Beatrice. Her hand is already up. And kindly let's be precise, straight to the point, because of time.
Sure. Straight to the point. And my question is to Engineer Jacinta. Not really a question, but a concern. In Kenya, we've realized, because it's common to most of our towns, where we have our linear developments. When you look at these linear developments, it's because of the infrastructure that unit brings on board. That is not only Kura, but including other road players in the sector. Now, we are in what we call, do I call it a solution paradox? We need these roads, but we end up again opening up these areas we are trying to reserve for agriculture. In terms of policy, what should we have in place to resolve this issue? Because it's a very complex situation. We cannot live without roads, but the roads again are affecting our work as planners. We plan for agricultural areas, they become opened up, and we lose them at the end of the day. So what could be the solution? I'm now asking as a planner.
Thank you. That's a very good question. Linear development is a key challenge to the planners in this country. Yes?
Thank you. My name is Benson Okita. My question goes to Dr. Benson, my namesake. I did some soil mechanics, and from the pictures that Daktari showed us, I saw that the ground is gravelly. That is, it is much of gravel, which is not a good conserver of water. So I was asking if there is any other way. Maybe we can overlay it with clay soil so that the water can be harvested and be stored for a longer period. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll give, yes, please, and just be precise so that we can have these two, and then we go to the responses.
Okay, I'm Alfred Eshtara, planner number 119. My question goes to the Kera and also Kura. I have a concern how we design our road, and I believe they don't have the human heart. They don't have equity. Most of them is only for vehicles. There are no pedestrian roads, and sometimes when you try to provide that intervention, it comes too late. Like I was in Kakamega, they are doing traffic control, they are doing some embankments, but there are no footbridges, there are no zebra crossing. It comes like an afterthought. Lastly, is to the FAO. I think I need to thank you for the work we have done in terms of helping counties do plans and also funding their GIS laboratories. But as planners, I think we now need to move to the next phase. We have so many good plans. But with FAO, I've seen consultants like Jodev, I've seen Digereg, I've seen Renaissance, my brother Koye here. There are research institutions. We need now to come up with a monitoring framework. Because a plan is not a plan is good once it's implemented. We need to see what was proposed as the key component for Kakamega County Special Plan, Makueni County Special Plan, and Nairobi Special Plan, and how they interact with each other in terms of urban, rural linkages. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Benson Okita Ouma is my name. I'm a planner with the county government of Siaya. Like I've been instructed, I need to be very precise. My question goes to Dr. Orlando. For the record, is my teacher. He was my teacher, and he's still one. The question is, we are talking about food sustainability in our societies. Now, sometime last year, there was, when the land control boards were being composed, there was inclusion of the physical planners in the land control boards. I believe it is linked directly to what we are talking today. Now, the question is the inclusion of the physical planners in the land control boards having any impact on the crazy subdivisions we are having in our counties? And could be a bit to share what is the experience from the other counties that are represented here on the same matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So that marks the end of our first round of questions, and I would like to give an opportunity to our panelists to respond. And we have specific questions that have been directed to specific panelists, and I'd like us to start with the engineer. We seem to be very much interested into these innovative issues that you have presented about. And we have the first question to the engineer. I know you have taken note, but I would like to just summarize the issue of innovative ways of funding projects, innovative ways of constructing infrastructure. Tarmac for doing roads, that issue of innovative ways, how can we be innovative in terms of funding, then the designs that have been termed as forgiving designs, you'll also tackle that. And then there was another issue. Just give the mic to Engineer Jacinta. She'll also incorporate the ones that she has taken note of. Okay, that's well noted, Honorary Secretary.
All right. Thank you, and thank you, moderator. I think I'll take a very short time. On innovative ways of funding, it's true, we have relied so long on the traditional method of funding from Exchequer. It's unfortunate, like probably this year, the last 2 years, all the money that we have been receiving has been going to pay pending bills. So somehow we have to think, and we have to think out of the box. We have been smoked out of our comfort zones. So that is why this issue of the reason we are developing the strategy is for us to be able to tap this on climate resilience, to be able to trap some of the funds that are available in the climate fund, so that because the infrastructure needs are continuous. We also the issue of public-private partnership. I know we have been having the issue we've been talking that has filled our mouths and our minds, the issue of Adani, but that is just one. We have been we've been enjoying the expressway, that it was done through the same of PPP. Kura, we have completed some 80 kilometers of roads. We did 35 in Western region and 45 in Central region through the annuity funding. So we need to be innovative because traditional methods of funding are no longer tenable. The issue of infrastructure bonds is an area to explore. The donor funding, maybe we need to expand our scope to those areas that have not been, we have not, the ones that we have not talked to, or we thought they are not viable. The issue of forgiving designs from Director Joyce, thank you for bringing up this, so that maybe you can talk to people about it, especially as we talk about road safety. Forgiving designs are meant to ensure that should you make that mistake, that it will not be, you will not suffer the consequences as was intended. You may suffer, yes, but probably not to the extent. And I'll give an example. There's a road I personally supervised in Water. And I specifically told the contractor, there was a major road that was adjoining, and the corner there was very sharp. So I had to ensure that at that place where the road was joining the other corner, that we did not put an open drain, we put a closed drain. And true to the word, two weeks after, and the contractor was standing on site, somebody came from now the main road, akakuja fua. So actually, even the contractor felt satisfied. He said, oh yes, here I think we did the right thing. Because you could be dealing with a casualty. Now you're talking about somebody who is just, dusting himself and saying, oh yes. So some of the issues that we need to make sure that we employ on our roads for that area of forgiving designs is that we make our corners as gentle as possible, such that should you miss, you will not go very far. The issue of having the drain away from the road. I know, especially in urban areas, sometimes we are constrained. And we put our drain very deep next to the road, probably just separating with a curb. What will happen? We are human beings. Yeah? You could have woken up on the wrong side of the bed. So those are the things that we are trying to encourage people, that if there is space, please take that drain away so that should anything happen, then you can imagine the impact of the vehicle into the ditch. I've talked about the gentle curves, covered drains, the issue of using grass on our drains as opposed to concrete, where possible, where it can be possible. Yeah, just line those drains very nicely, ensure the grass grows very nicely. And should you find yourself inside there, you won't have to suffer the consequences. Those are just some of the strategies that we employ to make sure that you, the motorist, the road user, you are safe. Planner Beatrice, the issue of the linear development on our roads, it is real. But probably I will just, is maybe something that we need to think together, because we are the people who give the change of use. We are the people who approve those plans, either us or maybe from the Ministry of Lands, where I think the Kenya Institute of Planners, the main client is the Ministry of Lands. So we approve these plans. So when we approve, what aspects do we look into? So actually, like now when we did Eastern Bypass, it was a very big challenge because we did it as a collector, from one road to the other. But now what happens after that? We have had to come and do some knee-jerk measures to make sure that the road at least it is even motorable, because it was impossible to use Eastern Bypass, for those who know. So it's a challenge that is, yes, it's a challenge that is all of us here, and we need to think about the issue of agricultural land. Actually, it's even a bigger challenge to us, because even these subdivisions, the roads, the width that is allowed is not enough. Yeah, you give me 6 meters, you give them 6 meters. At some point, watasema serikali saidia. Itasaidia vipi? You did not give me space. So I think it's a problem that all of us need to tackle together. And that is why you are told you need to claim your space on the table. And she talked about the roads without no footbridges and no walkways. This usually happens with roads, especially developed by especially our sister authorities, who don't have a lot of experience in urban areas. But now going forward, there's a cranium call to humanize. To humanize roads, that even as we do the roads, let's remember that these roads will be used by human beings, and what do human beings require? They need bus bay, they need walkways, they need footbridges where necessary. We need the issue of humanizing, thinking about the people with disability, all that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Engineer. Let's clap for her. So we move to Planner Mercyleen, and there's this issue on the buffer zone plan, which touched on private land. So, and we remember when our Mr. Kunga on FAO, when he was presenting, he talked about the issue of land tenure. So Planner Mercy, kindly would tackle that in the shortest and summarized way possible so that we can move.
Okay, thank you, Planner Elizabeth. So we have planned on private land and also public land because the Constitution mandates us as well. If you look at Article 66, 1, it states that the state may regulate the use of land, any land, or any interest in or right over any land in the interest of defense, public safety, public order, public morality, public health, or land use planning. So we don't plan on private land, on public land only, but also on private land as per the constitutional provision. So how have we engaged the population therein? So we engaged them in different stages. The first one was the sensitization stage. Of course, there is the legal part of issuance of notice of intention to plan, but we also had a meeting with high-level delegation, the PS, the governors, the CECs, the chief officers. And then apart from that, we also had cluster sensitization, where we met community members from the 3 counties. Then after that, we prepared the plan. And upon completion, we also issued a notice of completion as per the law. And we also invited the landowners to Konza Technopolis, where we had a meeting. And apart from that, we also went to the ground. So we clustered the planning area into various clusters, and planners were able to engage the landowners. And of course, we got very insightful comments from the landowners. For instance, the proposed bypass, the planning team was not aware of that. And one of the landowners said, you guys, there is a proposed bypass here by the authorities. And he actually gave us the document where we were able to digitize and have it in our plan. So yes, we engage them at all those points. I'm done. I'm actually done.
Yeah, it was just
yeah. So just to say that there was also issuance of notice of incorporation of comments after we engaged the MCAs and also the professionals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercy, for emphasizing the need to follow the law on what is required to be done, and especially on issues of public participation. So moving to Planner Kevin Ngigi, there was no question that directly was directed to him on issues of land sea planning, or rather marine spatial planning. I believe we are all trying to understand this new niche, but again, I'm going to give you an opportunity. The presentation was also a way of learning, but I'll give you an opportunity to respond to two general questions that I believe you can put your word on. And one is, how do we revive an encroached food setup? That one I'm linking together with the one that was asked from the government row on the Nairobi City governor. How do you balance the political view, the people's view, and the developmental agenda on issues of loss of agricultural land and urbanization and development? And how do we now bring back on what has already gone to other land uses back to agricultural land use, now that we are talking issues, food systems? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take the minimal time possible. So one, you have to appreciate that planning is dynamic, and every day you are faced by new challenges and new solutions. I'm sorry to refer to the Bible, but my verses tell me that new wine is not held in old wineskins. And this calls to us planners to be able to come and revive these towns. You see, when we get into the food areas, it's because the land does not grow as the people grow. When the population grows, the land is still limited. If a county is 17,000 kilometers squared, it remains to be that. So what we need to do is come up with new ways of restoring. I'll take us to, we were at the UN Habitat, and we are learning about how Rwanda is doing it. So one of the ways Rwanda is doing it, they're starting to go vertical and rather than titling the land, they do sectional properties. So this allows people to go vertical, and we are able to have open spaces where you can practice urban agriculture and where you can have recreational facilities. So what we are saying is these problems that we have experienced, this stress that we're experiencing due to population growth or rural-urban migration and our food areas being encroached, they can only be solved when we integrate new ways of farming, when we integrate new ways of food production, and then we cannot, you see, we don't plan for people as stones. These are people we engage in, these are people we move with. And that is why one of our pillars is social inclusion and equity. How are we able to plan for the people, with the people, to be able to achieve the desired result?
Thank you so much, Planner. I take it as planning with the people, not for the people. And maybe before we go to Dr. Alando, I would like to mention, it's something that crossed my mind. This does not mark the end of this discussion. We already, together with the Honorary Registrar, I already have like 2 CPD topics for next year. So we continue learning. This does not mark the end of it. Even if you feel that you really want to talk or rather ask question or a follow-up question, because of time, we'll just respond to what is there. And then keep those CPD discussions, send them to our registrar or rather to the institute, and we can have this discussion the way we usually have them. So moving forward to Planner Dr. Alando, there are a few questions that have been directed to you. The 25% issue of spatial plans that are completed, and maybe how you alluded that maybe Are they in practice? Do we really need them? You'll respond to that. And then there's the issue of subdivision, issue of loss of agricultural land. Planner Kirigi has touched on, Kelvin has touched on it, but you can put your voice on the same. And then the issue that was raised by senior planner Dr. Joyce on the issue of linking the mutation and the other document. Kindly proceed. Yes, the compliance certificate, sorry.
Thank you so much once again, Liz. Let me try to keep it short. I'm getting that from the Home Secretary. The first question that comes from CEO Bungoma, whether we really need these county spatial plans. Maybe I would respond to that by asking about the implications of not having them, which is exactly what we've been experimenting with for the past couple of years. Where that has taken us to is a situation where we are consuming all the land or most of the land that we need to produce our food. We've fragmented them, and we are now doing other non-agricultural activities on them. We are settling on them. We are building industries on them. We are encroaching the forests. We are encroaching environmentally sensitive areas. And if we look at that experiment that we've been doing outside a guided spatial framework, we see that it's not ending very well for us, in the sense that we are starting to face food security challenges. Where we could actually produce our own food, we are now importing food in a lot of time, and doing other things that ordinarily we should be able to solve by ourselves. The point here is, they say the planner solves problems that you don't know exist in mysterious ways. This mystery is not anymore. The planner engages with the consumers of these plants, but then, importantly, is that future is already something that is visible to the planner, that unless we do something by way of preparing not just the county spatial plans, but also the lower level plans, the local physical and land use development plans, and further down, there are several other plans that need to be prepared. We need these plans so that we are able to deal with the challenges that are facing us. There are very many, including climate change. Now, moving to the question that has been, actually this I consider contribution from fellow planner Joyce. I think you're just solidifying the point that I was trying to raise, that there's a gap in the way we do registration of these subdivisions, and it has this gap. There has been an attempt to address it through the regulations of 2017. I want to imagine this is what you're referring to. The question is, how do we make these institutions to speak to one another? I think that is an important point, because most of the times when we are legislating, we tend to be inward looking. Everybody is pulling to their side. Every government department is pulling to its side, so that if it's a department that is responsible for land registration, we want to strengthen land registration, forgetting that there are also other activities. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is something debatable. I think most of these boards have not been operationalized by a number of counties. They've been formed, but a number of counties are still struggling to call the meetings and get these boards embarking on what they should be doing. So the presence of the planner in these boards should make a contribution to bettering the subdivision. But then outside the plans, that brings us back to the importance of these county spatial plans and all the other plans that we need to prepare. The mere presence of a planner in a platform, really, you can only give a professional input. Now, that professional input needs to be guided by an existing plan, and therefore we need these CSPs. We need to prepare them so that we are guided in an objective manner, so that the presence of the planner in these platforms helps to interpret the CSPs. I think until we do that, we'll be leaving a lot of issues to chances. This question was not posed to me directly about linear development, but again, this brings us to the importance of these CSPs, because if we prepare a CSP for our counties, we will be able to designate where we need urbanization to take place, where we don't need urbanization to take place, so that these roads then take us from an origin which is a land use, an urban land use, and take us to a definite urban land use. And in between, we don't have to develop urbanization, which then necessitates engineering solutions like the speed bumps and what have you. Really, all these speak to the importance of having the county spatial plans prepared and also all the other lower level plans. Thank you so much. Back to you, Liz.
Thank you, Dr. Lando. And for Dr. Okita, I know so many questions were directed to you, but some have been responded. So the ones that are remaining are just two in the interest of time. Issue of navigating, balancing cultural norms and success of projects, and do you motivate the community? Just those.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. I think we have to appreciate that in the ASALs where we work in, these are areas that are very, very culturally rich in culture. And therefore...
Just the way you look.
Yes, you can see the respect that you give to the culture, not just in the dressing, but also in your behavior and also in the ways of life. Yeah, so when we get into these areas to try and make a difference, we are very conscious of that. We are very culturally sensitive. And for you to be able to achieve, you have to involve the elders, and you have to involve also the what we call the community lands management committee, that are also very much composed in terms of composition, good composition and diverse. And I'll give you an example of how to do that. When you think of, let's say, like corridors for the wildlife. In the Vision 2030, we are talking of wildlife corridors. But then you go with wildlife corridors in a community that is also livestock, no kind of pastoralism, then you don't win much. And the main thing here is those paths or routes are beyond just wildlife. They're also for livestock. So then you rename this to wildlife and livestock corridors. Then that way you win, because then you're culturally sensitive. Yeah. That said, the issues of gender, age, which you have to think about. And then the second question was, what is the motivation? Of course, the motivation here is people cultural coexistence. I spoke about some of the issues that we're trying to resolve. Species decline, which is biodiversity. That's a motivation. How do we reverse that? Issues around inequalities and issues around climate change. But do we give funding? No, we don't give funding, but we give support in terms of subsidy, what I would call subsidy. Because you go and into a community and an area that is degraded, and you find, okay, the main issue here is probably the knowledge, is some of the basic tools, is getting the right seeds, and is also probably, those are the main ones. So what you do is you co-vision, you co-design, and you provide some of those as subsidy, just the same way you could do to farming, to farmers. Give them a kickstart, and then after that, you expect that to continue as ways of life. Yeah, so I think those are the ones I can mention, but there's another very important one which Planner Benson talked about. How do we ensure these barren lands? Can we bring in clay soil? Yeah, I would say that probably let's talk more about this. We are thinking about biochar, where you also add to these areas to take in more soil, more water, and also to increase soil fertility. And then at the same time, some of the degraded areas, we're working with what we call the Kenya sand dams, where they rehabilitated such degraded lands. But let's talk more about how we can include clay in these barren lands. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kindly let's clap for our panelists. And I would like to request, is there anyone who feels that there's something in 30 seconds they feel they will say? Okay.
I forgot I had not answered the second part of the question on the challenges that we faced during buffer zone planning. Definitely, there were many. One, public participation is definitely very expensive and time-consuming. We were also taken to court over the same, but we thank God the case was terminated. We won. Of course, the slow approval process, we are still waiting for the 2 counties to approve 1 year down the line, and yet we have informal settlements coming up very fast. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Planner. And I think that marks the end of this panel discussion.